defending the free market, and making the moral case for capitalism. The Justin Moore Show. Hey everybody, welcome to the Justin Moore Show, where we make sense of what's going on in this crazy, insane, out of control world. And now here we are, ladies and gentlemen. We have SpaceX. That's Elon Musk's company. He just made history with his latest rocket launch of the Falcon 9. Now this was the first rocket ever recycled, reused, and it landed on a floating platform. And this is amazing. And I've done an episode on rockets. I think that's going back to January of 2016, if I'm not mistaken. So over a year ago. And here's the thing. And actually I have a piece here. Maybe I'll just start off with that. Read into this a little bit and kind of dive on in here. Because I think what's going on with the new space race, I think it's something that needs to be talked about, especially for, people who are, libertarian minded, because this shows how the private sector is the one with solutions. It's not the government. And that's exactly what this is showing. So like right here, I found this piece here from investors.com. And it starts off saying, Final frontier. When NASA retired its shuttle fleet in 2011, space buffs moaned that the U.S. was abandoning its leadership in space. The opposite happened. In fact, it was arguably the best thing that could have happened to space travel as private companies rushed in to fill the void. Okay, that right there, that paragraph is so crucial. And I think just from our libertarian point of view in general, how it's funny, like when I just started my new job at United Airlines, a lot of my coworkers surprisingly are relatively conservative, even leans more libertarian. I'm amazed. Like I was thinking everybody would kind of be big government types, maybe Democrats because there's a union. But no, I'm pleasantly surprised. But what I do notice, like the one guy who's training me in, he says he's like a libertarian conservative. But this is what I always have found out, and it's kind of reflective in this guy's thinking too. And it's the mindset that, okay, well, yeah, no, I agree with you with a lot of that stuff. Yeah, I love a free market. I love capitalism, but, we do need the government for some things. Like they think, oh, well, if the government doesn't provide education, then who will? Or, if the government didn't build the roads, who would? If the government didn't send space shuttles to space, then nobody wouldn't. Well, just in this piece right here, with what I just read, how here it is in 2011, when NASA retired its shuttle fleet, there were so many conservatives out there, even the big time ones, with audiences in the millions, how they were complaining, oh my gosh, this is horrible. We love NASA. But here it is. Wait, I thought you guys were small government. What are you doing complaining about cutting a government program? Well, see, it's the same mindset, just like my coworker. He's a great guy. And we agree on a lot of things, but that is the difference between a lot of conservatives and libertarians. It's that the conservatives see that, okay, yeah, capitalism does sound great, but look, it's just the view that, yeah, if the government's not doing it, then nobody else will fill that void. But yes, right, what I just read, the private sector companies like SpaceX, or Jeff Bezos, his rocket called Blue Origin, they're filling the void. There's a new space race, and it has nothing to do with government. But it's these private sector entrepreneurs who want to explore space. So of all these arguments that you hear about these people, this is my point, where it sounds so radical. It's like, well, yeah, we should do away with public education. The free market could fill that. Oh, what are you, whoa, what are you saying? That there's not an interest in educating the population? Really? There's not? There's not an interest for employers to educate their employees so maybe they can do a better job on the job. They can be more efficient, more proficient at what they're doing. So it's amazing how you always hear these arguments, but time and time again, these guys are proven wrong because the free market, the private sector, They're the only ones who can solve our problems. The government can't solve problems. The government gets in the way of solving problems. That is what history has shown us. But that is not what the average person sees. The average person thinks, well, yeah, the government, okay, yeah, I don't like when they're taxing me, like I want my money, but hey, look, yeah, if they're not doing it, nobody else will, so we kind of need them, you know? But I argue that most people, they don't take that argument deeper. Because, most people, if you go to public schools, when you're going to school, when you're going to high school, you're going to college, you're indoctrinated with this idea that the government's the answer. Just like with you go take economics courses in college, like I did. It's from the Keynesian economic perspective. That, okay, hey, look, when times are bad, when there's a recession, you need the government, you need the Federal Reserve to step in. They have to prop up aggregate demand. Because if aggregate demand just keeps going down without the government intervening, you're just going to have this death spiral and the economy will just implode. That is what kids are taught. So government is seen as this needed thing. But when you really do the research on it, and if you really understand how things work in a market, if we actually had a free market, when people are providing value for value, then there are no problems. There's no force there, which isn't that the best sort of system? A system that's not based on force, but voluntary transactions? Engaging in exchanges with someone that, hey, I value your good more than I value my money, so therefore I'm going to make this exchange. And obviously the guy on the other end of the transaction, he values your money more than he values that good. So you're both made better off. It is a win-win situation. That is what capitalism is. With government, they take your money. They say, yeah, we're going to provide you all these goods. But guess what? They piss your money away, but you don't see it. All you see is the government building the Hoover Dam like they did during the Great Depression. You're like, hey, look, the government does great things. Look at what we built. You go to see the Hoover Dam. That thing is massive. Like, it's impressive. It's like, wow, man, government, man, maybe I was wrong on government all along. I say they can't do things, they can't produce things. Well, geez, they built the Hoover Dam. They've built many things. They built the interstate highway system under Dwight Eisenhower. But here's what people miss. And it is that, okay, yes, the government built those things, but at what cost? What unseen things weren't produced because the government produced that one thing? You actually don't see how inefficient the government was because it's the unseen. It's Frederick Bastiat's, the seen and the unseen. And so let's just continue on with the piece here before I just keep freaking going off here. On Thursday, SpaceX, the private company owned by Tesla, CEO Elon Musk, achieved a huge new milestone with its launch of a recycled Falcon 9 rocket that it had previously launched and then landed on a floating platform. Musk said that this is going to be ultimately a huge revolution in space flight because it will drastically cut launch costs. The day before, Jeff Bezos announced plans to send paying customers into space using his Blue Origin-built rocket and space capsule by next year. The Amazon.com founder says Blue Origin, which has also successfully landed and reused a rocket booster 5 times, is on track to conduct the first human test flights later this year. Then it continues on in the article. Get this, guys. Bezos and Musk have arguably made more advances in spaceflight technology in just the past few years than NASA has made in decades. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the point. That rant I just went off on the beginning of this podcast episode here, that is my point. Look at how much more efficient the private sector is doing than the government has. With NASA, oh my gosh, look at what government did. They sent man to the moon in 1969. We had JFK at the start of his term. In this decade, we're going to send man to the moon. And in 1969, they did it. Wow. When government has a plan in place, look at what they can do. Look at the limitless possibilities. That is such a bunch of crap. Yeah, how much money are you going to piss away in the process? When here we have Bezos and Musk in just a few years doing the work that NASA took decades to do. That is our money being pissed away. That's why I want money in the hands of these private sector individuals, these entrepreneurs, because they use money in the most efficient way possible because they have an incentive to do so. If these guys fail, these private sector guys, they don't get bailed out. They're going to lose. Elon Musk, he's he's the CEO of Tesla. He's got a lot of things going on. I mean, Tesla, they spend a lot of money, but they sure as hell can't turn a profit. They don't even sell that many cars. So I think Musk is really taking a huge, huge risk here. Maybe it'll all pay off in the end. Maybe it won't. Maybe he's, maybe his space thing will succeed and Tesla will go down the tubes. I don't know. But that is what's so frustrating, because most people, it's hard to argue with people and to explain, but what are you not seeing? If the government didn't intervene like it has in these past decades, we probably would have flying cars by now. And we'd probably have, we don't really realize how much more wealthier we would be today if the government didn't just piss our money away. If the government didn't have record deficits. We didn't have a $20 trillion national debt. No, we don't see that. All we see people who receive their little food stamps, they receive their little welfare checks, and like, oh yes, goody, yes, I love the government. Look what the government does for me. They send me free money. No, there's a cost to that. That cost is what is not being produced. We as a whole are getting poorer. And at the same time, we have these politicians like Bernie Sanders who get out there talking about inequality. Well, what is going on when the government pisses our money away? It makes us all poorer. That is what is not seen. The poorest would have been helped tenfold if the government never intervened in the market like it has, with all these regulations and taxes and government spending, which, government spending at the end of the day is just taxes. But anyway, here, let's move on. Let's read a little bit more from this piece. It's actually pretty well done. And these are just the latest headline-grabbing developments. Several other private companies are racing to develop better, safer, cheaper, and more reliable ways to commercialize space travel. Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen's Vulcan Inc. is developing a strato-launch aircraft that would release a launch vehicle from a plane with a wingspan the length of a football field. The goal is to make it far cheaper to launch low Earth orbit satellites. As Allen put it in a LinkedIn post, when such access to space is routine, innovation will accelerate in ways beyond what we can currently imagine. Axiom Space founder last year plans to build a privately owned space station starting in 2020. Oh, I thought the government is the only one who can build a space station. No, here's going to be a privately owned space station by 2020, 3 years away. The company says the station will host private research. Oh my God, wait. I didn't know research could happen in the private sector. I thought only the government could engage in that sort of stuff, right? There's no profit in doing research because people just piggyback off it, right? See, this is all a bunch of crap. Okay, anyway, let's continue on. Where the heck was I? Okay, the company says the station will host private research and manufacturing, as well as astronaut missions and space tourism for individual and corporate sponsored participants. Deep Space Industries started up in 2013 with plans to develop asteroid mining technologies that will transform the space economy. In that episode I did talking about space, I think that was back in January of 2016, I talked about mining in space. That's actually part of the title of the episode. Go back and check that out. It's like Capitalism in Space, Mining Asteroids, I think is like the title. You have to go back probably, probably 60 episodes. I'm making all these sort of points here. I mean, can you imagine mining asteroids? Well, that's coming our way. Okay, and then, and actually in that episode where I talked about mining asteroids and space, I referred to a few quotes in there talking about how the private sector is making space travel a lot more affordable than what NASA ever did. And actually, I want to read a few of these quotes here. This is coming from an article. This is from December 23rd of 2015 from investors.com. Get this, guys. If there's some of you socialists out there listening, like, okay, Justin, you're full of a bunch of crap. The private sector, they don't know what they're doing, yada, yada, yada. Okay, and anyway, here it is. Get this, guys. While Bezos' Blue Origin was first to return a rocket safely, his rocket is capable of only suborbital flight. Musk's Falcon 9 can actually go into space, and on this trip, it delivered 11 satellites in orbit. Okay, now here is the interesting statistic. Listen to this. NBC's Keith Wagstaff noted the interesting economics of space travel. Each rocket costs $60 million. Fuel costs per launch are roughly $200,000. So Falcon 9 opens up the possibility of commercial access to space for less than $200,000 a trip, in contrast with the $450 million price tag to send a NASA space shuttle into space. Ladies and gentlemen, isn't that crazy? What NASA was doing, so the government, what NASA spent for a rocket launch was $450 million. And now the private sector can do it for $200,000? That is so unbelievable. It's not like the private sector's only doing, what the government was doing by half. $200,000 compared to $450 million? That's not even close. That's why my point is, look at all the wealth we have missed out on society. Imagine if some of these activities you engage in, imagine if flying on an airplane, instead of costing you, $500 for a flight, what if it cost you $50, $40? How much more traveling would you do? How much more wealthier would you feel? Well, if the airline industry wasn't as regulated by government, and if we had more money just because the government didn't piss it all away, all that would be possible. Imagine how much more technology we would have with just airplanes. They would probably be a lot more efficient. And now that I work for the airlines, I see a lot of this stuff. And it's actually, that's part of the reason I got the job too. I wanted a different perspective on things, and still doing the farming thing. It's crucial. I don't want to just, take things from one perspective. And working for somebody else gives you that different perspective and an industry I'm interested in too. And now let's continue on here. Okay, get this. Here's a quote from Elon Musk here. If one can figure out how to effectively reuse rockets just like airplanes, the cost of access to space will be reduced by as much as a factor of 100, wrote Musk on the SpaceX website. Okay, and then the last quote here. Simply put, NASA, hobbled by politics, federal bureaucracy, and government contracting rules, is unable to move quickly to meet the needs of private users. Not so the new space entrepreneurs. They must respond to the capitalist rules of the market, not to the political dictates of big government. Exactly. Spot on. That is one big problem with government. That it's always one size fits all. That's why I argue against a government education, because they don't try to cater to the individual. It's like, oh, yep, you guys all got to fit in this little model. Take these standardized tests so we can compare how you're doing against other schools and all this sort of crap. This is how we got to teach. We're going to give you a lecture. You're going to take notes based on our lecture. I mean, isn't that so 1800s? And here we're still doing education the same way when we have the internet? When there's hundreds and hundreds of YouTube videos or like how-to videos, or there's the Khan Academy that teaches you how to do math and English, all sorts of things you can learn on the internet for free. I put new golf grips on my golf clubs. You know what I did? I went and looked on YouTube how to do it. I bought the materials on Amazon. The stuff came 2 days later, and I put new golf grips on my clubs. You can do anything. I mean, there's now, it's just amazing. I mean, how much more? Look at Uber. How Uber has transformed transportation, and it's trying to take on the taxi monopoly, which is government. The private sector is always bailing us out, but the government still tries to get in the way of it. That's what is so frustrating, because it's the same story over and over again. And now, guys, get this. As Mr. Musk stated in the post-launch press conference, the most expensive part of the whole mission is the boost stage. It represents up to 70% of the cost of the flight, so being able to refly a rocket booster, where ultimately the only thing changing between flight is the propellant, carries a cost reduction potential of over a factor of 100. Wow, that is amazing. And that's what Elon Musk is doing, being able to reuse parts. And wait, this is another argument too. Isn't it that, oh my gosh, look at the government is going green. Oh, these greedy private companies, how they're destroying our environment. Here is an entrepreneur like Elon Musk, and he's reusing parts of the craft that NASA would just throw away. Like, yeah, we can't use that again. That's a one-time use thing, like a parachute. Well, here's the private sector stepping in and recycling. Oh my God. I thought only the greenies like to recycle. No, it's actually in the interest of businesses to be as efficient as possible, to reduce costs. And that's what Elon Musk has done with the Falcon 9, which NASA could never figure out. And it actually, Elon Musk went, and after the successful flight of Falcon 9, he tweeted out, "Incredibly proud of the SpaceX team for achieving this milestone in space. Next goal is reflight within 24 hours. Holy crap, can you believe that? Where you send up a rocket, it comes back, and within 24 hours, that rocket is ready to go again. That is amazing. Have you ever heard of NASA doing anything like that? What does it mean? It's like years between launch, or months, several months for NASA to get their crap figured out? I can't remember. I don't really follow NASA all that closely. But I can tell you, 24 hours to NASA, those guys would be like, yeah, that's not possible. And here's Elon Musk. That's his next goal. And if you guys saw this video of Elon Musk's rocket Falcon 9 landing on this little platform, here it is way above the earth. And it just comes down and lands on this little tiny platform, this little barge in the water. It's incredible. It is amazing what the private sector does. How do people still have faith in government when we see all of this evidence out there of the private sector doing things that really look like miracles? I mean, that was once impossible. This was science fiction. And all of this is becoming real. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I think this is a way how we convert people over. We bring people over to the libertarian side. Point out examples that happen every day. Like this Elon Musk, the Falcon 9. Look at, that's the private sector. That's not government. People need to see evidence because people have been indoctrinated that, yes, government is good. Oh my God, yeah. The government is what makes everything possible. The government is what makes the world goes around. Oh yes, we got to pay attention to everything that Paul Ryan's doing and what the Senate's doing and what Trump's doing. Because if they don't get this bill through, oh my gosh, we're going to be screwed. What are we going to do? No, it's the government that keeps getting in the way of progress. The best thing the government can do is repeal laws that they passed before. Get the hell out of our way. Just as John Galt said in Atlas Shrugged, get out of my way. That is what we need to tell these politicians. Yes, drain the swamp and get the hell out of our way. Now that is all I have for you guys today. I'm recording this just before I fly off to Denver on Sunday, and I'll be gone all week for my little training at United, so I can be all ready to go, operating on planes. Well, I won't be working for Elon Musk though. Maybe he'll hire me. I don't know. Anyway, guys, if you guys can help support me out so I can try to, take on Elon Musk. I'll just settle for building a little drone. Yeah, if I could build a little quadcopter that I could fly in, that would be sweet. So if you can go to my website, go to justinmoreshow.com. More is spelled M-O-H-R. If you just click on my little Amazon widget there, any goods you buy, like if you want to buy books, anything, you sign up for an Amazon Prime membership. Go sign up for the trial. I get a little commission back on that. That costs you nothing extra. And that helps me out here at my show so I can keep turning out new episodes every single week. And I can work on expanding the show and just keep bringing you more and more content that you don't hear anywhere. And you can also sign up for Tom Wood's Liberty Classroom. Learn about history, economics, all sorts of fun stuff. If you guys are listening to this show, you're most likely a total nerd about all this stuff. You're really interested in this stuff. You're interested in things that the average person isn't. Most people don't give a damn. Most people are so caught up in their little lives. Oh yeah, what am I doing this weekend? Going out drinking, partying. But here you guys are. Well, maybe you guys are just better multitaskers. I don't know. But you guys, obviously, you think about things more than just yourself. You want to understand how things work. And most people are. They're just so caught up in their little lives. They have their little blinders on. But that's how you get a good perspective on things, is stepping back and looking at everything like, whoa, okay. And that helps ground you too, right? Anyway, guys, that is all I have for you today. I will talk with all you guys next week, and I'm looking forward to it. This is Justin Moore, signing off.